Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena, and in today's video we're going to be making a vintage inspired dress by Gertie's Charm pattern. Gertie just released this pattern maybe 2 weeks ago, and I just could not wait to make it, so I completely cleared my sewing schedule so that way I can make it ASAP. The dress is called the Betty dress, and it comes in 2 different dress views. One is a pencil skirt with the cummerbund. The second option is a full skirted dress with the cummerbund and a bow on the back, and then you have 2 different hem styles for the full skirted dress. You can do a bubble hem or you can do a gathered skirt. In today's video we're going to be going with the pencil skirt because I'm trying to use all of the fabric in my stash and I don't quite have enough fabric to make a big skirt. So I'm really excited to get into this video. I would like to thank you all for clicking on this video and supporting my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as follow me on Instagram at @Thesewrena_ to follow me in real time. You can also support this channel further by giving a virtual tip on Ko-fi, and then you can also become a bobbin over on Patreon, where I give you exclusive videos and content. If you have not watched it yet, I did release last week's video. It is a room tour, so you get to see up close my wallpaper, where I got my wallpaper from, and then just the other organization, and then the overall tour of my room. I would love for you guys to check it out, and I'll leave it in the card up top. I am so grateful to have you once again. So now let's get into the fabric I used. So for today's fabrics, we're going to be using some quilting cotton from my stash. I've had this for 3 years. I've had plans for it for 3 years and just never got around to using it. This is the contrasting and this is the main. You can notice that there's little dots on this fabric, and it actually matches the main on this fabric, and then this has white dots. So I felt like they go well together. From a distance you can't really tell, but like, you know me, I'm really into details, so I felt like it was perfect. And I really like this pinkish rosebuds print, and then I love a brown polka dot, even though it's a lighter brown. Anytime I see a brown polka dot, I think Pretty Woman, and I feel like this needs to be a show-stopping piece. So that's why I paired it with this pattern, because I feel like my ideas with adding the bow to the back of the pencil skirt will be the extra that this needs. So fair warning, going into making this dress, I do not know the reference for the dress that this was made after. I know that it was inspired by a movie dress, and it was quite a popular dress, but because I've never really indulged in too many classic movies, I'm not sure what it is. So I did do a little bit of research, and I guess this Betty Draper dress, and I don't know if Betty Draper was an actress or if that was the name of the character she played on the show, but either which way, I saw the original dress, and then I saw that Barbie also had a dress, and I thought that was super cool, because even though I don't know a whole bunch of classic movie references, I do know Barbie and her attire. So I started off with marking the darts on the bodice, and now I'm sewing those darts in on the sewing machine. I was so excited to make this dress that I did hurry through my very last project so that way I could get to this as soon as it was released. I really adore the shape that the cummerbund creates on this dress. I think it's gorgeous, and while the original dress was a bubble hemmed dress, I didn't have enough to make a bubble hem or a gathered skirt, so I went with the pencil skirt instead, and I had just enough to complete the main dress with the fabric that I had, and then I had to kind of piece together the lining. After sewing the darts in the bodice, then I sew on the yoke pieces that attach to the skirt. I do attach the yoke with it facing towards the feed dogs, so that way the feed dogs can help ease the yoke in, and now I'm doing the same to the back pieces. The bodice is fully lined, so most of the work on the bodice is done open on the side seams, so the bodice front and back are attached at the shoulders and nothing else. The bodice will remain open until the lining is put together, and the lining is put together in the same exact way as the main piece, and then you're going to sew around the underarms and the neckline and understitch. After the understitching and stuff like that is complete, then you're going to want to close up the side seams like I'm doing now. You close up the lining and the main bodice at the side seams, and you can see the lining is the white piece that's already underneath the sewing machine, and then I'm moving on to the main bodice, which is the floral pieces, and I'm sewing up the side seams of that right now. Then you're going to press all those pieces open, and then we move on to the skirt. So I don't go into great detail when I work with Gertie's patterns and other independent artist patterns, so that way I don't infringe on their intellectual property. But also Gertie has released her own sew along, so I didn't want to go into super detail when she was going to also do that. Second, this is the first time that I'm working with this pattern. I've never made it before, and I guess this would be considered my wearable muslin because there are some corrections and things that I could do better on the next one, so it's best you learn from her instead. Now we are moving on to the skirt back pieces, and I am just marking the darts with my yellow tailor's chalk, and after that we are going to do the same to the front piece. So I recommend using a hole puncher to mark out all of your dots and circles that you need for marking your pattern pieces. This doesn't work if the dots are located in the center of the pattern, but if it's on the edge like this one is, then just go ahead and use a hole punch so that way you can mark directly and accurately onto your fabric. Before we jump back to the machine, I decided to use some muslin to interface my bow pieces because I ran out of interfacing what's new. I feel like that's a common occurrence on my channel, running out of interfacing, so I'm using some scrap muslin to interface this bow. Now this is not a feature that was designed to fit on the pencil skirt. It was for the bubble skirt or the gathered hem, but I felt like the bow would add extra drama, and near the end of making this, it ended up being something that covered a mistake, so I was well prepared for what was to follow later. So now I'm basting on the muslin to the bow fabric, and I used the polka dot for the bow, and I'm using the muslin on top and the polka dot fabric on the bottom. You want to keep the most stable fabric on top and the fabric with the most stretch on the bottom, so that way the feed dogs can help keep the fabric from stretching out. Otherwise, if you do it the other way around, then your cotton will likely stretch out while sewing, and then it will no longer match up with your interfacing or stabilizing material. I was super psyched to make this dress. I'm currently working exclusively from my stash when it comes to fabric, so I was really happy that there was an option that I could use the materials that was already in my closet to make this dress. I was so excited to make this dress that I used the tile version of this pattern. Gertie gives us the print at home option, and then she also has a copy shop option, and I figured since I was making the pencil skirt version, it would be really quick and easy to print out the pieces and tape them up in my home, and God, I paid for that later. In the middle of it, I was just like, why am I doing this? The pattern was so big, it took up a good bit of my kitchen, and I instantly regretted my decision to do it at home instead of sending it to the print shop, because I didn't start cutting into the pattern or prepping to make this until several days later, so I would have been able to get copies at the copy shop made in time if only I had been more patient. It took me several hours and a ton of tape later, but I was able to get it all put together, and in fact I didn't even print the last couple pages to make the bow until I had already started the dress, because I was just so pooped from taping the entire dress together. It was quite a bit, but I do appreciate that she gives you the option for accessibility. Also, I'm such a last minute seamstress that it helps to have the patterns ready on demand. On the original pattern, the bow would have been sewn into the center back seam partially and stopping before you get to the zipper. And I couldn't exactly do that on this dress because there is a vent beneath the zipper to help for the ease of walking in a pencil skirt. So I had to come up with an alternative. Here I'm trying to explain what it is that I came up with, but I didn't ultimately end up doing that. You see how long the tail would have been if I did it this way, and then the bow wouldn't have been centered on the center back. It was a mess, and this is exactly why I didn't go into great detail, because I was figuring it out as I went, but I'll explain what it is that I ended up doing when this is all over. Now that all of the muslin is basted onto the bow sections, I am sewing the pieces right side together so that way I can make the bow. The bow is made up into 2 pieces, so you do technically cut 4 pieces of fabric to make it. I was really excited to make this dress, as I kind of exclaimed at the beginning of this video. But as I got to the skirt pieces, specifically the lining pieces, the lining is put together almost exactly the way the outside pieces are put together, with the exception that she used different pieces for the lining. So there are some differences, but in terms of sewing them together, they're exactly the same. I started to lose some excitement when it came to completing this dress. I was really excited for the bodice, and as I got to the skirt pieces, furthermore lining the skirt pieces, I started to get a little bit disinterested in the process, which actually never happens. I always enjoy the process from start to finish. That's how I'm capable of sewing as much as I do. And I'm pretty sure it probably had a lot to do with me having a lot on my mind this week that had nothing to do with sewing. And it probably had a lot to do with the fact that I was confused about lining the vent portion of the skirt. Even though I wasn't enjoying the end portion of the process, I never lost my excitement for actually wearing the garment, and that really helped me power through those feelings because I could not wait to put this dress on. And more importantly, I just wanted to have the dress ready for whenever I have an event because I am so excited to grab this piece. The shape is just breathtaking and I absolutely adore it. It's a very flattering shape. The bow came in handy because I was struggling to get the vent and the lining put together in a seamless way. Once I attached the vent and everything, something went wrong and it caused the main fabric to buckle around the vent area at the back of the skirt. But luckily, because I had already made the bow to go back there, I was able to release that pucker, and then I hand sewed with an invisible stitch the bow to the center back seam, and I was able to cover any kind of discrepancy that was on the vent, and I actually hand sewed the bow all the way down to the back edge of the skirt. Even though I was able to figure out a solution to make this dress work for me, I do plan on figuring out what it is that I did wrong or what parts of the instructions that I didn't grasp enough so that way I can remake this dress without having the bow on the back, because I have more plans for an altered version of this dress and it definitely requires me to have that seamless finish in the back. This is not my first fully lined dress, but it's not something I do often because it does take up a lot of fabric. In fact, my lining was made up of 2 different scraps of fabric. After 3 years of holding on to this fabric and I'm finally cutting into it and making a dress, I'm really excited with what I was able to come up with. The original dress I was going to make with it was going to be a midriff dress using the polka dot for the midriff, and so this was a no-brainer and I'm so glad I waited. Before I share the reveal, I would like to give a special thanks to my bobbins over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel and going above and beyond. I would also like to give special thanks to my Ko-fi donors. If you would like to become a bobbin and further support this channel, I'll leave a link to my Patreon or Ko-fi in the description below. I post bonus and exclusive content over there. This month's exclusive video is a tour of my unfinished kitchen. My kitchen still needs a few more pieces, but if you'd like to see what it's looking like today before I complete it, you can check it out early over there. I also have sneak peeks and planning videos over there as well. I'd love to have you. Now, extra special thanks to those who comment and like my videos. It really puts my channel in the good graces with the algorithm and helps to reach more people, thus making my channel grow. As much as I love true vintage patterns, I really enjoy Gertie's PDF reproduction or inspired patterns because she does have an extended size range, so most people can purchase her patterns and wear them, where that is a huge limitation with true vintage patterns. She also offers multiple cup sizes, so you can help adjust for a more custom fit, and a lot of her patterns mix and match, so you can use bodice and sleeves and skirts and mix them up amongst all of her patterns, so you get a lot of value for your purchase. So here is the fully lined dress complete, and now it's time for the reveal. I adore how cute and extra this dress is, especially with the bow. The husband and I are fixing up my classic car, so I hope to take this dress out to car shows over the spring and summer season. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You'll have to let me know if you would give this a try. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, so don't forget to like and subscribe so that way you are notified the next time I post. I will see you in the next one. Have a wonderful and safe day.